What's going on, everybody? Welcome once again to my channel, the channel where the mysterious becomes the number one topic and logic flies right out the window. Excuse me. Join me and become intrigued as I read 411 unsolved cases of people who mysteriously vanish without a trace and are either never found again or found dead under mysterious circumstances. Today, today I'm gonna start off a little different today. I normally do like a segment of um, theories for my channel. This one is gonna be a little different today. I'm gonna be discussing. I'm gonna basically be discussing, the theory about folklore and cryptic creatures. Um, a lot of stuff. It's going to be dealing with what do you call that? Mm, Something about aboriginal stories. I'm gonna be dealing with a lot. Like I said, I'm gonna be talking about myths, urban legends, folklore, you name it. All the stuff that we all think is that we think is fake or it's just an ordinary story that someone thought of centuries ago. I am inclined to believe that they are all real because they had to come somewhere. I mean, I wouldn't think that some people would just make that up and it just gets tossed around time. Somebody just adding more stories to it. I'm not saying that it can't happen, but I really don't think that in these cases dealing with these mysterious disappearances, that's not the case. Okay, I want to start off by saying that I had a very interesting long conversation with one of my number one subscribers and the first person to comment on my page while I was on vacation this year. Her name is KimStar66. Now, she divulged information about how things are where she comes from in good old Australia. And she talks about the Aboriginal tales that were passed down from generation to generation, warning people where they should never, and I mean never, go, to certain places there, where they would, seemingly just vanish and stuff like that. So, now she believes so many of these stories have been told and are true because, I say about, so many generations won't step foot in some of the places that she's talked about, due to the stories and the legends, behind them. Now, those stories always also made her wary, to where she would never step into those places. And she also would never dare go there because of these stories. Because those stories about these places and the place itself gave her some of the weirdest vibes ever. So she decided to not go back. She would actually go there, but she would just turn around and go back home because when you get a bad vibe from stories or just from the area itself that your parents always told you never to go to, it is definitely best for you to stay away. Now, we talked about how we all should be educated in folklore because think about it. The government put these classes together for the Board of Education for our schools about human history. I'm not saying that human history is a bad thing. I'm not going to say that because of our red-blooded Americans, and the forefathers that built this country, which I do love this country. Don't get me wrong, I love America, and I was born here. But I still feel that we should all know about earthly history as well, because there are so many things about this planet. Now, I have said this millions of times before. There are so many things about this planet that we know nothing about. Okay, we hear about these things, but we don't actually know about them as far as having some confirmed facts or truth to the matter, or seeing some of the things that we've heard about in the past. The government for some reason wants to keep all this stuff secret. I don't know why. You know, I started hearing like big stories about um, our Egyptian pharaohs being alien human hybrids. Now think about this. I don't know if any of you guys out there have seen video file footage or even photos on the internet of some of the skeletons that they found in the tombs of Egypt. There have been skulls that have been found. And I'm talking like skulls with elongated domes. Okay? Now think about it. Now, on the hieroglyphics of a lot of those Egyptian tombs, there are depictions of Egyptian pharaohs and their queens wearing these elongated like coverings. Like the women like Nefertiti, they wore these long cone like hats on their head with a flat top. Now the pharaohs of course wore those golden like helmets on their head, but they were also elongated as well. So they had to make sure they were high enough to hold on to to cover their big head, or their big skull. And so when they found these skeletons, or these skulls rather, with elongated domes, I was like, wow. That would explain the reason why they wore all those long, hats. Now scientists and skeptics tried to say that it was some sort of uh, like a disease that went on back in those days that caused the domes to grow large sizes, which makes no sense whatsoever. But see, the thing about it is, people who want to cover this stuff up, they'll say anything to cover up something like that because I guess they figure whatever comes out of their mouth, the public's gonna believe because they're the experts. Okay, first of all, why would we believe that? People out there who aren't those kind of people are just as smart as they are. Okay, they go to school, and learn a lot of things. But for me personally, I really believe that a lot of folklore is actually real, based on true facts, based on true events. The only problem is that these stories have been handed down from generation to generation for centuries. Okay, and when people get a hold of it, they be like, okay, that's impossible, that's not true. Because a lot of these things that I heard about happened way back when. How people say they saw these creatures roaming the lands of where they lived at, and you only really have like drawings of these creatures. You don't have actual found footage or photos because they didn't have that stuff way back then. So the only thing they had was a pen and some paper, and they drew what they saw. And a lot of times, from my experience, even though you saw something, you're not gonna draw it with an exact depiction. Okay, uh, it's not gonna be an exact drawing of what you actually saw. Sometimes, you can think you saw something or you don't get it just right, but it is what it is. Now, also, like I said, a lot of that stuff should be in schools, but it really isn't. Who knows whenever that will actually happen? It probably never will. But that's what I'm here for. That's what David Paulides is here for. He just states the facts, but me, I add to the facts because when I read those stories, I think about all the things that I have learned about in the past about folklore legends and all these mythical creatures that we think are actually fake when they really are real. Okay. Now, also, now she used folklore in her everyday life, with her son, to keep him safe. She used these same stories that she was raised with, or that her parents told her about. She says she said that she had like two dams, and a lake that was on their farm. She would tell her son that bunyips, lived in them. I don't know what a bunyip is, but it must be some sort of like ancient Australian creature that lived in the lake or lived in uh, that lived in the dams, I guess. Now she said these bunyips, what they would do is they would eat the children unless they were accompanied by an adult. Okay, like I said, this is aboriginal folklore from Australia, so I've never actually heard. I think I have heard of bunyips before. I've heard the word, but never really thought about what it could actually be or what these creatures could be. But they are also surrounded by bushland. Um, so she tells her son about yowies, which is an Australian version of Bigfoot. Okay, and she would say that the yowie is actually the badlands or the bushland is actually their territory, and that let me see. Oh yeah, and they would eat them. They would eat him as well. You know. Now what she told him obviously worked because he doesn't set foot in that area at all. Apparently she scared him enough not for him not to go there. Um, Now also, sorry. Also, she has actually seen a yowie. Okay, so a lot of what she has said to her son, isn't entirely made up because she's seen a yowie. Like I said, she's seen a yowie herself. Now, they also live in real dangerous, in real everyday. They live with real everyday dangers because of the deadly snakes that roam the grounds of the area where they live in, spiders, and wild dogs. Now, one thing about wild dogs, there's this one dog I heard about. He's called the Beast of I think it's the Beast of Dartmoor. This is in England. There was a video on YouTube of this Beast of Dartmoor. The thing is, it was this huge grassy prairie, in England, and off in the distance you saw this blacked out creature, or it was like a dark creature, I guess it had like black fur. And you see this creature dart across two hills that was in front of him. You see it for like a couple of seconds, and then it runs behind a hill, and that's all you saw. It lasted for about maybe no less than 5 to 10 seconds. And it was huge, and it was black. You could see the tail, and that sucker was massive. It was huge, it was like a big old, like, I don't know. It was just huge. It was on all fours, and it just ran across, and it was kind of like off in the distance, so the picture was actually blurry. But you literally did see something huge running across the prairie, and it was huge. It had a thick tail. Now, if you really think about it, it could have been something like a panther that got loose and roams the land, looking for food. I don't know, but like I said, that's what I saw. Let's see what else. Now she saw this yowie when she was exploring with her sister. So like I said, a lot of the stuff that she told her son isn't entirely made up. Oh, excuse me. Let's see. Oh, she also says that living in Australia, in Australia you actually get used to all of that. Because you live there every day, so you see this stuff all the time. You see yowies, you see all these creepy looking spiders and snakes all over the place. You just have to learn how to live with it and learn how to cope with all that stuff, and kind of just don't bother what you see. Just leave it alone. Let it live its life. That's called, respecting these strange creatures. Let me see. Oh yeah, she even mentioned some bridges that were like let me see, that were near her house when she was, when she was a little kid, and her mom would tell her about how trolls actually lived underneath them, and they would grab, and if she ever tried to cross those bridges, they would grab her and take her to the underworld. So you can imagine that those kind of stories terrified her, and it did keep her away from those bridges. So folklore, they do work. When it comes to you telling these things to people, it keeps them out of danger, keeps them from getting taken, or whatever the case may be. Um, so with that, you got there's a lot of creatures out there that people look at as folklore. You got Mothman, Yeti, which are very familiar creatures that we all hear about on TV, documentaries, and that stupid show, Mountain Monsters. It's so fake. That's my opinion. I made a comment about finding Bigfoot, and somebody chewed me out saying it is real. I'm like, oh, calm down now. I mean, that's your opinion, okay? This is I'm talking about me. I mean, anyway. Okay, you got Goatman. You got this thing called the Dover Demon. I've never heard of it. I've seen a picture of it on YouTube. I actually went on Wikipedia and they have a whole list of these cryptic creatures. There's another one. Well, of course, Yowie. Just talked about that one. And there's another one that I never heard of. It's called Beast of Gavadan, or something like that. Gavadan, or Gavadan. I'm not sure. And it kind of looks like an upright, like it was crossed. I don't know. It looked like a Bigfoot, but it could be some sort of kind of like the skunk ape or something like that. I think that's what they said it was. It was some sort of ape type creature. But yeah, a lot of strange things. Now see, my whole take in all this, when you're dealing with folklore, cryptic creatures, urban legends, a lot of these creatures have a lot of similarities towards the I won't say a lot of similarities towards, but a lot of it looks like they could be a part of all these cases when these people disappear. Like, I'm gonna mention this again, the Henry McCabe case. You heard that growl, in the background. Now I'm thinking, this is just a thought, but a lot of the people who vanish and turn up dead without any ounce of death on their body or any type of torture, I'm thinking that the same thing that happened to Henry McCabe happens to all these other people. But the Henry McCabe case was the only one that captured the sound of this growl, on his phone. The same thing may happen to all these other people. So the same thing happened to him. He sounded like he was in a lot of pain, like he was being tortured. But then when they found his body, there was no sign of torture on his body at all. Okay, so what could have done something like that to him? And then when you find his body, there's no sign of it. So obviously you could hear him being tortured. Maybe they have some sort of whatever that thing was. It could have been that creature, could have been the voice that you heard after that where he said stop it. He may have some sort of mind power where he can somehow disrupt the synapses of the brain, which of course are connected to every nerve in the human body. So it probably does something to the mind, and you start feeling this pain all over. And it makes you feel that pain to the point where you're traumatized by it, and you literally die from this. But it does it without touching you, which is the weirdest thing. I mean, it harms you without laying a hand on you. When you think about that, it just boggles the mind. How can someone hurt someone without touching them? You gotta have some type of blunt force object, a gun, a knife, whatever, to either stab, punch, kick. You need something to hurt that person. But if you can hurt someone without touching them, there is only one logical explanation for that. They're using their mind to kill these people. It's got to be the only reason. When you think about it, but people don't want to think about it. They say, okay, I know my son was kidnapped. I know my son was abducted. By who? Who could have done something like that? No serial killer, no pedophile, no whatever. Any type of human criminal is able to do these kind of things. You never heard this about anybody that's ever done anything wrong. Never. In my lifetime, I've never heard it. I don't know about yours, but I've never heard it. So with all these creatures that we think, like I said, that we think is folklore, they are actually real. The only problem is everybody looks for facts. Sometimes all you need is faith. I heard a little quote from an actual movie. This was the Santa Claus movie, with Tim Daly. Tim Allen. I'm sorry, with Tim Allen. And one of the little elves, I think her name was Lucy, I believe. She said, "Seeing isn't believing. Believing is seeing." You don't have to see something to believe it. You just do. And that's how I am. I just believe because the evidence is right there in the books or right in front of your face. You see it, but you just tell your mind that it isn't real. That I'm hallucinating. The one thing I learned about hallucinations is that hallucinations are actually windows to all of this stuff. You may think it's a hallucination because you don't want to believe it. What you see is real. But I can tell you right now, it is real. There have been times where I could be so sleepy, I'm forcing to keep my eyes open, but at some point, somehow, because of me being tired, my brain somehow kicks in and it connects with my eyes, and I'm able to peer into the spirit world, and I can see stuff that I never could see with the naked eye when I'm actually awake. I don't know. It's just some sort of mind connection with the earth itself. And I think that's the reason why a lot of these people have these strange powers, because they have a connection with the earth. That's why they always say people have to learn how to connect their mind, body, and spirit. You become one with the elements and with the earth itself. This is a whole different ball game with people who may not even believe this, but trust me, it's true. All of it is real. Okay, so for those of you that don't believe in cryptic creatures and those urban legends that you heard about in the past, especially like the Mothman, or because I think the Mothman is a Jersey. Oh, I'm thinking of the Jersey Devil. Okay, if you live in New Jersey and you heard about the Jersey Devil, it's true. You just ain't never seen it. Now these creatures can also slip in and out of different dimensions. It can come from their world into this one. There was a story I heard about a couple weeks ago on Coast to Coast AM about this upright dog-like creature that ran across someone's farm, chasing after a coyote on its hind legs, like some big beefy-looking werewolf. Okay, I said that's another one, a werewolf. Some people may think that's just a made-up fictional character for a movie, but just because you ain't seen it don't mean it ain't real. I learned that the hard way. Okay, when I didn't believe ghosts were real, I was like that until I saw one. I was a little kid when I first started seeing ghosts. But like I said, you gotta, sometimes believing is seeing. You don't have to believe anything in order to see it. You just know that it's there. I know that these creatures are real. Sometimes I hear some strange stuff outside my house. Sometimes like in the summertime. And sometimes, it is what it is. But as far as the cases, if you think about how these people are found dead, and you think about all the folklore that you may have heard, like there's a story in Iceland about trolls that run after farmers and their children and eat them alive when they catch them. And think about it, they eat them alive. That means they eat them whole. Now, in these cases, tiny little bone fragments are found scattered everywhere in this one little area, and yet you find their clothes folded neatly near the area, or sometimes you'll find their backpack, or you'll find their shoes. There was one case where you found everything but the leather shoes. And I was like, okay, you leave everything is fine, but you take the shoes, which makes no sense. I never could understand it. And then cases about a tooth that was left on a log, which is the Jerry Atadero case. And when his shoes were found, they were pristine, they were clean, like as if they just came off the showroom floor. And he was found 4 years later. How is it that if those shoes been in nature for 4 years, don't you think they would have been, weathered they would be, worn by the weather, especially leather, well, not leather, but like fake leather, like how they put on sneakers. That stuff starts to tear over time if it's in the elements for too long, and it gets brittle and it starts to break apart, and it just rips, and you can actually see through the fabric of the leather and look on the inside. That's just how leather does. Now real leather doesn't do that. Like work boots, they can stay in the elements for years before they actually break down. But yet, shoes are gone. Now, stories about the night marches are a part of these cases too. Like, now the story goes, King Kamehameha created a law to where you could not look at him. If you did, you would die. He would literally have you killed. That is the kind of respect he expected his people to show him. Now, he would say that you would have to, in order to show him respect, you have to get down, move around like an animal, and smell like one. I mean, you have to pee on yourself, do whatever else, but you could not look at him. And now these people, and they say you have to bury your head in the sand for the night markers because they carry that same respect. If they see you before you see them, they'll leave you marked for dead. Now, if you see them before they do, you have to strip down to your underwear or your bare butt, bury your head in the sand, and do not look at them. You wait for them to go by, because that's a sign of respect for them. Okay? And then it's over. Now, it's either that or get off the beach, while you still can. Because trust me, I can tell you right now that the night markers are real. I have heard them in my hotel room. I can hear drum beats off in the distance, and every night it happens between the hours of 12 a.m. and 4 a.m. That's when they tell you do not be on the beach at that time. This is on the backside of Waimea. So, I'm just saying. So, that is my story on folklore and all these cases, that may have a lot to do with it. So, if you think you don't believe it, I hope you do now. Just trust me. A lot of these folklore cases have a lot to do with these cases, or the 411 cases. Trust me. You just have to open up your eyes and read the book and just think about all the stuff that you heard in the past and just put two and two together. That's what I do. I put two and two together and realize that that's got to be what it is. I'm just saying. You can believe it, you can not believe it. But if you like the stories, if you like this rendition, hit me with a thumbs up, subscribe below, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.